Everybody. Mahalo nui for coming and attending the meeting for guidelines for tenure and promotion. Louis asked that Laura and I make the presentation this morning. I wanted to acknowledge that we have Jim Kardash from UPA in the room. Aloha kakahiaka. And we also, aloha. And we also have Sandra Uyeno from UH. Oh, she wasn't. Is she still here? Oh yeah, there's another page. Good morning, Sandra. Okay, and then maybe we can start by everybody going around and just saying what you're applying for.
Tim Marmack, C4.
Leaping Liu, C5.
Thomas Hussey, C5.
Oh, Lenny Hold, I think I'm in the wrong place. Because none of that makes sense to me. So I'm going to say have a good morning.
Okay, ahui ho.
Donna Harbin, C5.
Mike Takimoto, C5.
Mary Farmer, C5.
Morgan Andalus, C4.
Hey, Angela.
Hi, good morning. Happy Friday.
Hi, happy Friday.
Yeah. Hey, C5, is that a
Okay. Van Ho.
Hi, I'm Vaughn. I'm going for tenure.
Moana.
Aloha, Moana, C2 going to C3.
Dean Louis.
You know, undecided, but maybe C5. We'll see.
Okay, I think, did we get everybody? And then we also have Kathy or Takeo in the room, and she's the one who typically sends out all the email reminders and timelines. Oh, and I just saw Lorene pop in. Lorene, we're just sharing what promotion or tenure or what we're going for this year.
Thank you. This is where I should be, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, aloha. Okay, aloha kakahiaka, everybody. Let's get started. Okay, so I think most of you attended the workshop last week with Sandra, and you guys went through the online submission process. It looks like this, and some of you may have used it before, but the link is up all over the place. And what I like about it is right here on the bottom, you have the classification guide and the guidelines, and there's also a dossier library. And I think you guys may have spoken about this in your workshop, but those are really helpful, even for people like us. I was clicking through them yesterday. And actually I think this makes the process so much easier. I know before the stress would be pagination, getting page numbers on there and stuff like that. And through this, you don't have to worry about any of that. Okay. Laura, you have something? Oh, to you, Laura. Oh, okay. Laura's on a 799 COVID hotline call. Okay, so general information for tenure. So basically, we're just going through the tenure documents and just highlighting things that we think are important. But we also, right, make sure that you use those guidelines, that you're constantly referring back to them, making sure that you're meeting all of the criteria and that you don't miss any of them. So the idea that the guidelines for tenure and promotion are set forth by the UHCC, right? So all the UHCCs use the same one. The tenure process is set forth by the UPA contract. Generally speaking, tenured faculty go up for tenure after 5 years. There are some exceptions here and there that may be granted to go up early for tenure or extend probation period up to 7 years. And there is a little more complexity because of COVID. But if you do have any questions or think that you have been affected by this time period, please reach out and let us know, and we can figure that out for you. Okay, due dates. And now, again, this is the click of a button. Before, you'd see people running over to the chancellor's office to drop off their documents. It was pretty stressful. But I think right now it's just clicking it and making sure that it's there. And obviously it closes. So you will not be able to submit after 4:30. So there's no negotiating. Failure to submit a document at the conclusion of your probationary period will result in a terminal year contract. So we have had people who have, you can request an extension if there's a problem. So please make sure that, if you're in that situation, to reach out and talk to one of us or the chancellor. If you are rank 2, you must apply for promotion to rank 3. Oh, Emma is saying it auto submits. Sandra, is that true? At 4:30, does it just suck it up?
If they don't click on the submit button themselves, then it will auto submit at 4:30.
Ooh. Okay. Thank you, Emma. Okay, next slide. Criteria for tenure. So this is what your document is made of, right? You have a teaching or educational philosophy, primary duties, professional self-development activities, college community service activities, leadership abilities, supporting materials, and general information. And there are templates for all of these things. And this is, you can add to this, but make sure that you cover all of these things and that it's clear, right? This is a particular section. This is the next section. Make sure that all of these sections are clearly outlined.
So the next few screens are kind of repeat the same thing over and over again, but we can't repeat it enough. Your application should clearly show how you fully meet the expectations of the rank and criteria at which tenure or promotion is requested. So really referring to the classification document, and we will pull that up in a little bit, is the most important thing you can do. So for promotion, just to be clear, you should demonstrate that you meet the minimum qualifications for the rank you're applying for. So you should be really looking ahead to that rank as you're crafting your document. And the promotion dossier is really, it's the same guideline, the format of the tenure, it's including that same type of information. But again, it's clearly stating how you meet the rank for which you're applying for. The primary responsibilities of faculty. So sometimes for those who are not in instruction, it can be helpful to include a list of your job description or your role in the appendix, because if that looks a little different, but really your primary responsibility is what you should be focusing on. So whether you're in instruction, continuing education, academic support, and counseling, the focus of your document should be addressing that you're meeting those primary responsibilities. In addition to those primary responsibilities, you're also expected to provide institutional service, professional service, community service. And just as a friendly reminder, if you're being provided assigned time, that is considered your primary duties. So assigned time are part of your primary duties and should be included in that section. I think there's a question in the chat. Oh, the recording and slides will be available after the session. Yes, thank you, Joyce, for keeping us on track. Oops. Okay.
And this is just the classifications. And again, we mentioned before that you should be referring to this. I know when I did my document, I broke it all up and had headings all over my office and putting Post-its under each one, trying to make sure that I had them all. So make sure, and also make sure you clearly outline the criteria in your document, right? So speak specifically to the criteria, provide evidence, make it easy for your reader, right, to identify those things.
Yeah, as a reader, often readers are using this as a reference as well, right? So they're guiding their review based on the language in here. So just as Kahele said, just to reiterate, this is sort of your guideposts of what it is to meet that rank, that criteria. Okay, let's see what happens. It worked, okay.
Good.
Okay,
go ahead.
Let's see. Well, I don't know if we said it enough, so we'll just say it one more time. State your criteria clearly. The next part, develop a robust educational philosophy. So, you know, this is one of the things that should be sort of foundational to the what you do, why you do, how you do it. So this should be something that is part of, in the beginning, is kind of lays the foundation of the rest of the work. We were thinking about the different ways, and it depends on which field you're in, but usually there are program standards or institutional standards or even industry standards that can help you shape some of those philosophies and thinking about how you gauge the work that you do in your mission.
The next one is use citations when appropriate. If you're talking about something that is, you know, particular kind of pedagogy or ideology, put in those citations. We know that you use resources, right, to inform your work. Let us know that, right? So use the citations, put it in there, support what you're saying, support your ideas, support your philosophy with, you know, appropriate citations and ideas.
So know your audience. You know that there are various levels of review and understanding that there will be people who look at your document that are not in your field. So you will want to be cognizant of making sure that the abbreviations you use or some of the language you use is clear enough and explained enough so that someone who's not in your discipline would be able to understand. Also, that people who are not at your campus would understand. So using abbreviations for committee work, for example, making just sure that they understand for what you're referring to.
Okay, and then be clear and concise in your writing. I know one of the comments that I got back on my rank 5 was I was so much into the weeds, like I was teasing out every little thing of a student learner outcome. And even though sometimes you can kind of go down that rabbit hole, I think I probably would have been a little more broad in describing what I was doing in my courses without having to get into the itty bitty little details, right? So be clear and be concise, right? We don't have to, I know I had probably about a page for each learner outcome. And I think, you know, Diane Meyer told me like, oh, it was so long. Because even though it was going through my mind, right? I didn't think about my audience and how that might make them feel, but yeah, so be as concise as you can.
So focusing on the work, the outcomes and results. So while we say, you know, you want to explain enough so that they know what committee is, you don't need to spend tons of time to explain the purpose of the committee, the role of the committee. Really what you're trying to emphasize here is your work, right? So your contribution, why is it important? So instead of spending lots of time explaining the committee's mission, Really focus on your involvement, your participation, your contributions, and the outcomes, the so what's, the results of that. How does that impact you as an instructor or whatever your role might be? How does that impact your students? How does that impact your overall work at the college? So really thinking about, people don't want to hear about the kind of institutional generalities, but really your role in it, your contribution in it, the so what of it.
And, you know, take the time to organize effectively. I know that many of you have been working hard on your document. It takes a long time to do it. But make sure that, again, for the reader, for somebody who's coming to this work of yours, that, you know, you take the time to organize it, to show your work in the best possible light.
And charts and graphs are always helpful when appropriate. There's always a balance too, however. And oftentimes if you are showing a graph or a chart, you know, obviously, I think Jeannie Pizzoli was the one who really got this into my head was, you know, you want to have an explanation sentence of why that's important. Don't just assume that the reader will be able to glance at the chart and understand why this is impactful or important. So then maybe in your, you know, as you're presenting the chart or the graph, making it clear as to why that's important.
Yeah, and I think the idea that the chart and the graph does not replace the narrative. I know that some people have gone to the far right and just, you know, did a huge chart and no narrative for a whole section, right? So you still, I mean, you know, if you can do it effectively, but you still have to have that explanation, right? That supporting evidence, you know, things like that. And I guess this is kind of when it comes to the, you know, what we talked about before was, you can tell us what you do, but you have to tell us, you should be telling us also why and the so what of it. What was the result of it, right? So not just what you did, but what was the outcome of that?
Oh, wait, we forgot to say check grammar and spelling. Get a reader, get someone to help you. Just making sure that you get those silly mistakes so that your reader doesn't have to catch them for you. So just making sure to take the time so it looks like you put a little effort into it as well. And
don't ignore the red lines and the blue lines.
I think that's it.
That's pretty much it. You know, we do have on our academic affairs page, we do have all the timelines and the DPC information and the templates, and a link to all of the system sites. So, and thank you, Tim. I fixed all those cross. I had some of those links wrong, so they're all fixed now. But yeah, mahalo nui. Do we have any questions or input from Sandra or James?
I have a question. I think it was on Tuesday. There was like a system-wide presentation, but I had class since, so I only got to catch like 10 minutes or something of it. So I was wondering if there's a recording of that available.
The Tuesday training we did was for reviewers, and we will have a recording available, and we're going to be sending it to your chancellor's offices.
Okay,
So
thank you.
those are for people who are serving on DPCs, possibly serving on TPRCs if you're a div chair. Okay.
Thank you, Sandra.
Mhm.
I have quick question. It's a technical question. So when I created a table of contents for appendices, when I link to the folders, it says restricted. You're not supposed to share folder. Is this still possible for reviewers to access folder, even though it says you're not supposed to share the folder?
So whatever you're linking to, make sure that you put those folders into your shared drive. Okay.
Right, I did. Yeah,
should-
okay. That looks like it should work.
It should. If you're having problems, email us and we can help you
Thank
take a
you.
look at it. Okay.
Thank you, Sandra.
Ping, this is Emma. I noticed that because I have so many other shared drives, it was important that I just make sure that I'm using the shared drive that has my tenure and promotion account number on it. In the beginning of doing this, I wasn't doing that. So that's what a problem I discovered for myself. I don't know if it applies to you, but yeah, just might want to check that.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, sounds like that's exactly the same practice. Yeah, I did have those folders, subfolders, but just make sure it's under the assigned share folder. Okay.
And
Seems
it should have your number, your tenure and promotion number on it. It should be like a 4-digit. Yeah.
great. Thank you for the confirmation, Emma.
And there was a question in the chat. There's no longer anything we need to sign with the new electronic dossier.
That's correct.
Any other questions, suggestions, comments? Okay. All
This is
right.
the time. We've got the experts here. I'm just gonna throw it out one
Anybody
more
need
time.
help?
We've got Kathy from Chancellor's office, Sandra. I mean, this is the team. So even if you're thinking, should I ask it? Maybe ask it for someone else. If
I
you're even wondering.
have one comment or thing to reminder for the applicants, if you are going to be applying this year, that we had asked the chancellor's offices to reach out to you folks. So depending on which training session you attended for the applicants, later on in the process, our developers had created this scan documents button, and you'll see it when you get into your dossier. So be sure that you click on that scan. So what that's doing is, like we just mentioned to Lipping, that all of your links need to be in your shared drive. You can't leave anything in your own personal drive, because what'll happen is if a reviewer tries to open the link and it's in your own personal drive, then it's not going to allow them to do that, because they're going to need to either request access or identify themselves. And for TPRC members, they're confidential. So we can't have the reviewers needing to reveal themselves and request permission. So you need to make sure that all of those hyperlinks or whatever documents you're linking to are all put into that your shared drive, like Emma was saying. Make sure it's in the proper one. And so to help assist you in making sure that you did this properly, the programmers developed this scan documents button. So you can do it as many times as you want to keep scanning your document to make sure that you don't have documents sitting in your personal drive, and it'll give you an error if you do. And then if you get that error, then you need to move those documents into your shared drive. I hope that makes sense, but don't wait till the last minute, like on the day that it's due, to do that last scan, because if you start getting these error buttons that you still have some documents that need to be moved, then you might start panicking. So, make sure you just start building it, putting everything into your shared drive. And, there's that share button that you can allow your colleagues to take a look at it. So while they're doing that, also, you might want to just run that scan documents to make sure that all of your documents in the links are in the proper drive. Okay.
Hi, I've got a question. This is Dean. So Sandra, when I was one of the first people that used the online format for promotion, I don't know what has changed, but I remember, putting QR codes, I think, in there. So that has changed a little bit, because I think I was putting things like videos that my students have done, and I think I checked it and they worked. Have things changed a little bit in terms of the format and accessibility?
So Dean, I know you were one of our first ones, and I can't remember whether you were our pilot with Interfolio or with the homegrown system. But if it's the homegrown one, we've made these improvements a little as we've gone along. So it's important, this requirement that all of the links be in the shared drive is a new thing because we don't want the reviewers to have to identify themselves if it's somewhere outside. So that's something, and I'm not sure about the QR code, but videos, those kind of things, you can put that all in the shared drive too.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, it seems like that's it for questions. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful Friday and weekend. Aloha.
Aloha.